Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and we are back after an 18-day refreshment on Tottenham. They're back in our lives and back with a bang. Pretty much the bang I think you was all expecting. If you're with us for the very, very first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we're on Blue Sky too. I'm joined by three of our returning regular guests who had a little bit, I have time away to reflect, to try and offer up some analysis of what we're seeing right now, which I'm told is Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. You may not believe it if you look at the league table, or actually see it if you look at our players on the pitch, or the manager for that matter. But this is Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. You may look at the circus at the top to see where this is all actually coming from and downwards to that. I'm joined by Richard Crackers Cracknell, compare actors, two of the greatest in the land. I'm joined by TJ Ramini. I'm joined by the wonderful Darren Hart on this Last Word on Spurs. It's once again, lads, those therapist outfits on to try and understand what we're seeing with Tottenham at the moment. Ange Postecoglou, before we get right into the crux of this show, does become the first Tottenham Hotspur boss to lose 4 league games against Chelsea. A bad night for Spurs, and especially for the under-pressure boss, Ange Postecoglou. It was a night you feel that you'd hope to see a bit of unity, a bit of fight, and to try and build some momentum into what we know is going to be a crucial Europa League campaign, or what's left of it to come for Tottenham. In the end, the headlines, unfortunately, of the night, for those that are unaware, that may not have seen it during the game, is that Ange Postecoglou decided to use a stupid and completely unnecessary gesture by actually cupping his ears to his own set of fans. And then bemusingly after the game, offered up a very strange analytical opinion for it. So we'll come on to that and more during this Last Word on Spurs. Look, I will say at the very, very top of the show, the show is created and done by Spurs fans for Spurs fans. And I think everyone will know that has watched and seen the journey of Last Word on Spurs over the course of the last 7-8 years. This has probably been the most trickiest and hardest season to do so far on the actual creation of this show. And, you know, we have genuine Spurs fans that come in here week upon week that go home and away. And I like to always say that we try and bring the show to you as close to the terrace as possible and try and retain that quality and balance throughout in what has been a really, really tricky season. So, again, I want to thank everybody out there for somehow finding the time to fit this into their lives, whether it's on the commute, whether it's live, whether it's on playback. I mean, the support we get for this show is quite simply astonishing, really, and amazing. The amount of people that stop me every day to express their love for this show. And I just wish for all the Spurs fans out there, we could bring you more joy and more, in the words of Ange Postecoglou, entertainment. It's not really been entertaining, let's be honest about it. I mean, look, let's open up with cracks on this Last Word on Spurs. It finished Chelsea 1, Tottenham Hotspur 0. This is the first time Spurs have lost 16 of their opening 30 league games. And you have to go back to 1977 for that record-breaking stat. You know, when you also go further back to that, 2002-03, 2001-02, 1997-98 is the last time we lost 16 games in a league season. We've got 8 more to go. We've got to go to Anfield. We've got to go to, I think, Villa away, Wolves as well. There's also 11 defeats in the last 7 games, 34 points after 30 games. And that result against Chelsea means that Spurs are
Rick,
close to...
Just one thing there. You said that's 11 defeats in the last 7 games. I know it feels like it, but even that's beyond Ange.
They're killing me. They kill me.
It does feel like it, though, Rick.
I've had 18 days off to prepare that stat. 7 defeats in the last 11, please. We are going to kill us off by saying any more. But we are closer to the relegation zone than 4th place Chelsea, where before this game, I mean, there was protesting. There was calls for their own manager to maybe see the sack in Maresca. Crackers, where are we in the latest endorsement of the soap opera that is Tottenham?
Evening, morning, if you're on your commute to everyone, and the Heartman and TJ and yourself, Ricky, and yeah, it's nice to see all you chaps on here and everybody in the regulars in the comments. And that's probably the saddest thing about Tottenham at the moment, is just seeing fellow Spurs fans just so down, so disappointed, so disillusioned, like just numbed by it all. And that's the hardest thing to see, because you can have your players come and go and your managers come and go and your owners come and go, but your fans are just always your fans. They are the club. They really are. And to see everybody rowing amongst ourselves and disagreeing and just generally a really unhappy lot at the moment is just not nice to see. So that's probably the hardest thing of all of this at the moment. We were talking before we come on air, but we're all not actually here tonight. I'll let you in on a secret, everybody. We're not here. What we've done is we've fed the last 15, 20 pods into Chat GPT, created AI images of ourselves, and what we're going to say tonight is just Chat GPT. We're all actually at Soho House in London drinking cocktails. We're not actually here. This is just AI. It's Rick, what can you find to say yet again?
I don't know anymore. I don't know.
It just feels so broken, doesn't it? To the point of not even no anger at the moment. That like people just there's no.
It's apathy.
Yeah, the apathy, and that. I mean, what a terrible place to be in from top to bottom. Everything just feels so broken. Going to Chelsea. We can all speak about Ange, and I'm sure we will, and the players, and but we've gone there so many times. We've just got this ick. We just can't. There's something about that place that we just can't get over, that mental hump. So you're already fighting against that. So you just try and look at what you offer within those games, even if you do get beat. I mean, I remember a Saturday lunchtime game, probably maybe 12, 15 years ago, where we got done right at the end 1-0. I can't remember who it was that scored. It was an absolute stormer. I'm sure somebody will put it in the comments. But we actually offered a real lot in that game and just got done at the end by this absolute screamer. And you think to yourself, okay, we've got beat here again, but we offered something. But tonight, just nothing. We just offered really, really nothing at all. Yeah, it was just poor, Rick. And they're a poor side as well, Chelsea, by the way. I mean, they were there for the taking. Thank you. It was Gallas. It was Gallas that hit it right at the very end. Thank you, Stuart. But you kind of felt if you could put something together tonight, we could have put them really under it and got something. But I think that just tells you about the Premier League in general this season. They're still fourth and they just look bobbins, don't they? I mean, better than us, obviously.
How many games this season have we said the team has been there for the taking and we haven't taken them? And that is, I think, one of the most key frustrations. And I think the biggest thing of all, Dow, is that, look, I come to you, you are one of the most positive contributors that we have on Last Word on Spurs, that always tries to see things in balance. But I've got to be honest with you, Dow, and say to you, I don't know whether you feel agreement with us on this point now. I don't know what Spurs are anymore. I don't know what Spurs are in general. I don't know what Spurs are under Ange Postecoglou. There's no unity. There's no identity. There's a minimal attacking threat. I mean, the joking thing is, before the game, he said we'd have a crack. Players losing their discipline. I mean, look, we've got some good players, I still think, in this squad. People might laugh at me for saying that. We've got some good players here. But we are now, just in my opinion alone, we are drifting. We are drifting under Ange Postecoglou. We are coexisting with no real purpose, no real benefit. The fans, with all due respect, it feels a lot of the fans have cleared enough of Ange Postecoglou. There's a feeling, I think, that he's had enough of us as well. it does come down to Europa League or bust. I mean, we'll come into whether he should be going any earlier than that, to be honest with you. But I mean, Dal, what is going on with Tottenham at the moment? Cracker summed it up. You've got infighting amongst the fan base. Everywhere you turn, you've got the manager reacting to the fans, the captain reacting to the fans, Vicario storming down after full time. It is just a complete, utter mess.
And that's it, Ricky. It's a complete, utter mess. And again, it always falls down to us as fans. And like Crackers quite rightly said, the infighting between us and the war that we're having is because we all want the positive day. We all want the change. We all want the turnaround. But no one can find how it's going to happen because we change the board? That's what we need to do. We change the manager? That's what we need to do. We change the squad? That's what we need to do. There's so many elements that now are just completely dysfunctional and not working. It's a really sad place to be because, like, as Crackers quite rightly said, Chelsea were there to be beaten today. Chelsea got the worst goalkeeper in the league and we didn't test him. And that's not what we should be doing. And that's the sad reality of it. And that we're even at a state now when our gaffer makes a substitution, we don't even trust that. And we can't back that and we can't support it. And it's sad. And like, as we all know, we see Spurs fans everywhere. And I'm a man, I'm branded. I've always got the stuff on. I love my team. I'm here for it. It's in my DNA. And whenever I'm running into Spurs fans, it is that thing where we just want to hug each other. You just want to go, I can see your pain, you can see mine. And it's very hard right now to see where the sun's going to come. I know the sun's shining now, but it doesn't feel warm. It feels cold out there. And I'm looking at all of us and going, we've got 8 games left of the season in the league.
It could be more, the league-wise, yeah.
Yeah, just league. I'm just going to concentrate there. And you know what? I said to a Spurs fan today, I was like, take us to the park. I was like, go do something else when the 8 league games are on. Because it feels like the squad are doing that. It feels like Angie's doing that. And if they're going to do it, why don't we do it? And why don't we start our summer early and just separate from it? Because it is Europa or bust for the squad, for Levy and Ange. That's what it feels like they're doing. But you know what? I would love transparency. I love the honesty. I love them to come out and say that and go, guys, look, we know we can't do anything in the league and we're going to try and win Europe. And we're going to put all our eggs in one basket and that's what we're going to do. But I don't even think they believe that. I don't think there's a belief in the players, in Ange, in Levy, that they believe it. And now in the fan base, we don't either. No. And I think that's the sad bit, is that we don't believe and we can't trust anything. And we can't trust what we're hearing in media. We can't trust what we get coming out of the dressing room. And I know people will be on here going, one of you must have the in, we must have the no. We're all scrambling like you guys. And we shouldn't be scrambling, not at this stage, not at the stage of the season where we should be at the place where you're getting answers now, where things should be getting clearer. The squad's coming back. The identity of Spurs should be coming back. But it seems like all of that's falling away. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be a Spurs fan again. I went through all of my days at college, school, all of that stuff. We've all been there. We all remember the embarrassing days. And it feels like we're back there again. Yeah. We got out of it. And watching the young ones being Spurs fans, I was happy for them because they were proud to put the Spurs shirt on and wear it out and have Kane and Bale on the back and celebrate. And now it's like they want to put their jumpers back on top of it again. And I'm just like, that's a sad state of affairs that we're in. It's a sad period of time. And I wish I had a magic wand, or I wish I could project in the future and see how we get out of this. But right now it feels like we're in an ugly state of affairs for a little bit longer. And I feel it's going to go right to the end of the season. It's going to be ugly like this till the end.
Yeah, I mean, look, the record against Chelsea and Arsenal in general, Ange, it's 1-0, drawn 1, lost 7. It's such a brutal, damning record in terms of London derbies. And I think you look at the overall season, Tej, come over to you and lovely to have you back on. And yeah, we did try and put Tej back on the sun ladder and bring him back off again. 10 wins, 4 draws, 16 defeats in the Premier League season. Spurs have recorded 0.82 points per game over the past 17 league games. No team has earned fewer Premier League points in London derbies this season than Tottenham, 10, who have lost 6 out of the 10 such matches, winning 3, drawing 1. I mean, only in the 90, 87, 88, 89, 90, 2003, 04 and 04, 05 have Spurs ever suffered more London derby defeats in a league campaign. I mean, Tej, what is going on with this football club? What is honestly going on with this club? We'll come on to Chelsea and what we've actually had to witness and see, but what is happening to this club?
Goodness me, where to even begin? Well, I tell you what, I'll begin by saying thanks to everybody for tuning in.
Yeah.
Thanks to all the viewers and the listeners. We appreciate it. We show our love and our respect and our appreciation of all of you. Just before we came on, again, I was saying to the chaps, we're having a nice conversation about how coming onto this show is a pleasure for us because we're all Tottenham supporters, but also it gives us a sense of duty, whether we win or whether we lose or whether we draw. And, you know, let's call a spade a spade. Most of our appearances on this program have come after suffering yet another humiliating loss. And so we do appreciate you guys turning up, and we will do our best to air grievances and to discuss and to try to offer perhaps perspective, if not wisdom. I mean, listen, to Darren's point, none of us know. You know, we'd love to have that plug in at the club and we could tell you. And as far as transparency and honesty, and I just think I don't ever see that happening with our football club. I pretty much don't see that happening with any football club. These are just too big, too powerful, too wealthy of an organization to ever have transparency to those who follow week in, week out. But as far as what's happening at the club, again, and not wishing to sound repetitive or tedious, it is identity. And so the fact that we lose so many London derbies, and you would, if anyone to ask even a rhetorical question, well, why is that? And it's like, well, because nobody fears us. You know, nobody's like, oh, Tottenham's coming. They lick their lips when Tottenham comes to town. And so that's a huge part of it. I have said on this show before, to Cracker's point, you know, copy and paste, but we're a big enough club for it to be a scalp. And if you beat us, people will notice you. But we're not a big enough club to have them go, oh, goodness, like if we get one over these guys, wow. And so it's kind of like what United are like at the moment. You know, Manchester United, arguably the biggest football club in the world, before people go, arguably, okay? But they're shit right now. Oh, excuse my language. They're not a good side. So if you beat them, it's like, oh, wicked, we just beat Manchester United. But then someone will turn around and go, yeah, but United are rubbish right now. And so it really is, for me, a complete shift of mentality to, I want to be feared. I want people to be quaking in their boots when they come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's never been close to a fortress. Never been close, man. We was, you know, when we were at Wembley and we were unbeaten at Wembley and everyone was saying, oh, they won't be able to do it at Wembley. We did do it at Wembley. You know, no one could come to Wembley and beat us.
There's a mentality problem, like you say, too. There's a massive mentality problem. Massive mentality problem.
And those can't just be words.
No.
Mentality has to be met with actions.
Yep.
Nothing ever happens in history without men, or women of action. Words only get you so far. It starts with a conversation, and then it is about physical implementation of those theories. And we're nowhere near that, brother. Nowhere near. So it is going to be a tough show today. We'll do our best for you, everybody. And we'll do our best. That's all I can promise. Nice to be back on the show, Rick.
I thought I'd intro us all in there. And I will bring in, as we usually do, the match facts and the stats from the game. Sorry to put everyone through it. My apologies. It finished Chelsea 1, Spurs 0. 11 shots for Chelsea to Spurs' 8. Spurs just the 2 shots on target to Chelsea's 5. Tottenham touches in the box 26 to Chelsea's 33. Chelsea recovering the ball more than Spurs 45 to 43. Clearances wide, Spurs edged that 30 to 25. Spurs with one more tackle 17 to 16. Corner wise, Chelsea with 4, Spurs with 6. They share possession across the game. Spurs' XG 0.94. To Chelsea's 1.26. At the end of the game, for those that are intrigued to know it, because again, a lot of this will focus around Ange Postecoglou. You could argue his antics or his headline moments on the touchline. He remained close to the halfway line after the final whistle, having encouraged the players to go over to the away fans. He did keep his distance. And, you know, I think nothing is more Tottenham cracks than our own manager cupping his ear to us after we've scored, despite the crap that we've been served up this week, only for the goal to be disallowed and for us to lose again in a record game of the season. 16 defeats in the Premier League. This London derby record, which is awful. Look, I'm going to bring in the comments of Ange Postecoglou and what he has said in relation to that cupping of the year. But what on earth, Cracks, after what we saw against Fulham with the fan, whether it was a Tottenham fan or a Fulham fan, what we saw against Bournemouth away, where again, he reacted to a fan in the away end at Tottenham. You go back to that Man City incident, of course, previous season where it felt there was a misalignment in relation to why Tottenham fans were maybe favouring, City to get a result because it would have maybe meant Arsenal won the league. There seems to be, at the moment, Cracks, a real misalignment between him and Postecoglou and us.
Mm-hmm.
It never, I feel, just in my opinion, it's never really ever got back on track since that game against Man City where he just got that situation wrong. And it's now just how I feel personally. I don't know if the fans and the viewers and listeners feel all the same. It just feels that since that moment, we've never really been able to get back on a even keel with him as the manager. And this relationship, I think you put it on your own X profile. It feels like it's coming to a really, really, really horrific divorce of an ending. It doesn't look good the way this is going to end at the moment, this relationship.
Rick, I don't even think it's us as a Spurs fan base. I think this is Ange Postecoglou and fans of clubs at Premier League level. I think you're seeing a man that's clearly stepped out of his depth in his ability as a manager. And I think you're seeing now a lot of sort of personality traits and frailties with him, which just leads you to think that he's just not got the chops for a job at this level. I know he done well in Scotland, but like I've said before, Scottish Premier League and the English Premier League are night and day, and football in Japan and football in Australia, it's not the Premier League. It just isn't. And to be cupping your ear at the away fans, I mean, the mentality of a whole away support or even a home support, it's just like that. It is. You think to yourself, okay, maybe individually you look at yourself as a fan and think, oh, is that the right thing to be booing really when we're trying to win a game? No, it isn't. But that is just the way it is, and it's the way it's always been. And that's not just Tottenham. Every fan base, if a manager makes a decision that they don't like, they let the manager know in such a way. And this goes back to gladiatorial times in the Colosseum. The crowds will let the emperor know when they're happy and when they're not happy. It's just the way it is. And you have to deal with that as a manager. You have to take that on the chin, up the bollocks, whatever way you want to look at it. You've just got to take it, and you have to rise above it, however sort of wrong it is. So to do that again, this is the 5th, 6th incident where this has happened. But then after, in the post-match interview, to then turn round and claim that he was cupping his ear because he wanted to hear the fans cheer a goal by Sarr. It's just, come on, please. It's just like, don't.
It's insulting the intelligence of any fan, isn't it? It's insulting.
It really is. It's beyond words. I mean, we was talking a little bit earlier. If you're an actor and you're not a very good actor or not a really good guy, you'll be found out in 2 minutes flat. And football's exactly the same. The great Steve Perriman that I've worked with many a time, he said football will sniff out a bluffer and a blagger within 2 minutes flat. So to turn round and say that's why he was doing it, he's either been really poorly advised by a press officer before he's gone in to his interview with Sky, or if it's, if he's conjured that up himself, then it says a lot more about him than it does us as a fan base. If he thinks football fans, this isn't a Tottenham thing, I reiterate, if he thinks football fans are going to see that and then swallow that he was doing it because he wanted to hear the cheers for Pape Sarr's goal, I mean, it's just incredulous, Rick. And I mean, to think that we're going to buy that, come on, man. That's no, just don't. It's a real insight into his psyche of who he is as a person if he thinks he can offer that up and get away with it and be believed for it. It's just it's over, Rick, isn't it? This is the thing. It is all over, and it's just looking a real sticky, horrible ending to this all. It's just not worked. He looks out of his depth. It's immature, Rick. It's absolutely immature, and it's just poor judgment yet again. As I've said before, he's not got the chops for the job at Spurs. I mean, if you come to Spurs as a manager, you're already being asked to be a one-legged man in an arse-kicking competition. You really are. And some managers manage to hop and develop a technique to dish out a few kicks. Honestly, he hasn't. He's just not got that ability. So you need somebody that can dance the dance even more so.
Yeah,
man alive, he looks so done now, Rick. So done. No matter, if you like him, don't like him, haven't got did like him, didn't like him.
It's not about that.
The record just speaks for itself now.
You can't buy it. You can't buy it at every single negative connotation. You just can't as a manager. I mean, I just tweet generally as a manager in terms of a Premier League club, it's one of 20 Premier League clubs, right? People will laugh at what they think about Tottenham's status in the Premier League. Tottenham are a traditional Big Six club. I have to say there's a certain element of respect you have to pay to the away fans. These are I don't mean it disrespectfully to anybody else there. Again, listen, we love every Spurs fan out there. These are people that spend their hard-earned money every single, fortnight to go home. Well, every single week they go home and away. They travel the pits of, we've seen that. I mean, that week they had to go from Villa to Liverpool, and they witnessed us go out of 2 cups in the space of 4 or 5 days. And again, I'll make that point. It's not been the one incident. We've had so many with Ange over the course of his tenure with us.
It's not just with the fans, though, Rick, is it? There's a bullshit dance that you have to dance as a manager, even with the press. And I mean, tonight, the post-match interview as well. He's going to get asked those types of questions. Now, you could turn around and say, well done, Ange, for being that guy and being the martyr that's gone, I know what you're doing and I'm going to call you for it. But you don't. I mean, I think Sky have replayed it about 50 times already. That's box office to them. You just have to smile sweetly and give them a diplomatic answer. I mean, once the cameras stop rolling, you could probably turn around and say, mate, go on, I couldn't do one, like asking me questions like that. Who do you think you are? But when you're doing that, you like, honestly, he's spiky with the press, he's spiky with us. It's because this is all above his pay grade, Rick. The whole thing is above his pay grade as a person and a manager.
Yeah, and I say again, it's nothing personal. I mean, I just will offer some context now to come over to you just around that incident, obviously the previous before that. So just to give some context out there as to where this has come from, you'd argue the incident itself and why Ange just cupped his ears is that the Spurs fans sung some of them in the away end. You don't know what you're doing, as Postecoglou took Bergvall and Odebear off for Sarr and Johnson. And obviously, Bergvall, to be fair, is one of the players on the field that you'd argue and say he's one of very few that you feel would have made a real direct impact in the game. And look, as we've said, nobody was having a 10 out of 10 game out there, but Bergvall's one of those players that we've seen can make a difference in a Spurs shirt. So, as I've touched upon, Ange Postecoglou decides to cup his ear to the Spurs away fans as Sarr scores, but following a V.A.R check, the goal is disallowed. And just to bring in the full quotes of Ange, what he has said after that game to the press, as Crackers alluded to there, just to bring those full quotes in if I can. He said, from his perspective, that, bear with me 1 second, I'm trying to find that quote, Jesus, mate, it's incredible how things get interpreted. We just scored. I just wanted to hear them cheer because we've been through a tough time. And I thought it was a cracking goal. I wanted them to get really excited. I felt that at that point, we could potentially go on and win the game. I just thought momentum was on our side. It doesn't bother me. It's not the first time that they've booed my substitutions or my decisions. That's fine. They're allowed to do that. But we just scored, just equalised. I was just hoping we could get some excitement. If people want to read into that something, I'm trying to make a point about something. Like I said, we've been through a tough time. I just thought it was a bit of a chance to gain some momentum if they could really get behind the lads. I thought we had the momentum to finish on top of them. And was then asked a follow-up question if he's in danger of alienating the fans. He said, look, you know what? I'm at such a disconnect with the world these days that who knows? Maybe you're right. I don't know. But that's not what my intention was. How do you see the state of play, Hartman?
You say that, and comes out and says all of that. Obviously, the fans booed the substitution. You don't know what you're doing. It all happens. You say that's what you were doing. That's your justification for it. Then at the final whistle, go over to the fans then. Go and interact with the fans then. The minute you can't cross the halfway line, you know there's a disconnect.
You know you've done something.
You know that because you can't escape the moment. You can't escape what you felt. And in that moment, he felt his back against the wall and he felt us turn on him. When he heard that, you don't know what you're doing. That hit his nerves. As Crackers has been saying very clearly and very directly, has he got the balls for it? Has he got the heart for it? And he's taking everything way too personal. And you can see it hit him. You can see it affect him. So when the goal went in, that was his personal going, look, I know what I'm doing. I do know what I'm doing. It's the kid throwing their toys out the pram, and it's that show of frustration. And we can't have that. You can't be a manager in the Premier League and do that. And there's an element of professionalism that needs to be held. There's an element of an air of confidence that you need to have. And if you can't be the man who can be above it all, you can't be the gaffer. The gaffer's got to be above it all. It's like when you do any walk of life, your manager has to be above everything. And if 100%. You smell that he isn't, the unit runs riot. Yep. The team, the workers, the workforce, they run riot. And that's what's happening right now. There's no real leadership there because his gaffer above him is Daniel Levy, and we all smell his bullshit.
He's not accountable to anyone. And that's the biggest problem of all.
Yeah. So when you've got that above you and then it all falls on you and you go, well, I'm now being told I don't know what I'm doing. I'm under full pressure. The squad clearly are not doing Ange ball, who ball, she ball, new ball, no ball. They're not doing any ball. They don't even keep the ball. No one wants the ball. It's all happening in front of our very eyes. So it's a sad story to watch. It's a sad sitcom with no jokes. There's no punchline. The canned laughter doesn't help anybody. And now we're looking at the poor guy and you just go, it's too much. It's too much for him. It's too much for us to bear. It's become way too much now. And I think today was a real moment of, it was sad because if he really believes, if he puts his head on his pillow tonight and he believes what he said in the press conference is his truth, then he's got to look at the rest of his actions. Because if that was his truth, then play your truth out all the way to the end. He didn't. So clearly you're scrambling. And it's sad for me, it's sad to watch a grown man scramble like that. It's really sad. Really, really sad.
Yeah. And I just will again make that point before I come around to Tej, and Tej will say this as well. You know, when this appointment was made with Ange Postecoglou, despite, again, another 73-day search for a manager, we all really, really wanted this to work. We were all wanting this to really, really work out because the problem with Tottenham, and Crackers put it in a much better way than I ever could in terms of analogies. You know, with Tottenham, and I've said this so many times, and I do apologise, guys, I sound like a broken record. We know now with the limitations at the top of the football club and what you are being given by the hierarchy, by the ball, by Daniel Levy, that the Tottenham job, with all due respect now, makes it really impossible to have any real sense of success there with regards to what you're being given to work with in relation to the tools, the funds, the limitations that are placed on you being the Tottenham Hotspur head coach. But Tej, come over to you because this incident really has taken over the show. Let's be honest about it. It has, because of the nature of how it's come about and the actions of the manager. Yes. I mean, when you lose the away fans,
Mhm.
especially with such a stupid gesture towards them, it's hard to see how you can survive this, isn't it? When you're making that kind of gesture.
I think what was so disappointing as well, about what a foolish, immature, really just childish thing to do, and it's also sadly massively hypocritical, because he's always said, Ricky, we were talking about this, he's always said, I don't listen to that stuff. Whenever a journalist says, oh, they've been saying this, they've been saying that, well, mate, I don't listen to any of that stuff, mate. Fans can say, he's always said he doesn't listen to any of that, or he's not aware, or it doesn't make an impact. And also, he has been in this game for a long time. If you don't know that any football manager is going to face criticism, and also we live in the age of public scrutiny and public criticism. So if you don't have the maturity just to rise above that and either ignore it or acknowledge it and respond respectfully, then I just don't know what you're doing. Again, like as a person and as a man of his age, I understand that everybody's human, and we're not going to be perfect at all times. And I don't know if you or the viewers and listeners saw Jack Grealish yesterday after he scored that goal and on the 25th anniversary of his brother's passing. And I watched that and I thought this was a lovely reminder that these gladiators, to use Cracker's analogy, are human beings, and they have families and they have backstories and they have histories and all that kind of thing. And so we're all emotional creatures and we all have our frailties. However, you have to manage that aspect of your personality and not snap back. It was so puerile. It was just so immature. I felt a bit embarrassed. Rise above that. We are in a public forum right now. If somebody sends me an angry message on X or an insulting message on X,
even on here, which I
have to say are very few and far between.
Yeah,
genuinely, they're very few and far between. Guess what I do? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
If we reacted to every message,
Nothing.
with all due respect, that comes on this show, there wouldn't be a show.
We'd have to retire. It's like, can you come on? Well, sorry, because I've got 790 angry messages. So you have to rise. You have to rise above that. Listen, man, we've talked about that loads. So what
we need to move?
Man.
We're going to move on. We've also got to go for a break as well.
Yeah, but of course. So I tell you what, brother, do that, man. Run the show.
Rick, just one last thing.
Go on,
just simply at the end, you go on and you say, you know what, mate, in his normal way, I did cut my hair and I'm a bit ashamed of myself, to be honest, but I'm a human being. I'm under pressure. It's not been great this season. I got booed and I've had a little bit of a clap back there, and I shouldn't have really done that, and apologies. And do you know what? We'd have all been on here tonight and gone, bravo, Ange. You've sucked it up. You've realised you've been wrong, and I'm a human being and I'm under pressure, and I'll learn from this. And there'd have been none of this. Now, I mean,
it's creating a rod for your own back.
It's the story of the night. Exactly. It's just it's just crazy. Just crazy decision to do that, and then try and do that on top of it as well is just it's just not. But the thing is, I guarantee you, in the next press conference, that's going to get picked at. That scab is going to get picked at. Once that media get him in that room again,
but he's going to buy it. He's going to buy it. I mean, look, just to close on this point, he was asked about the fact that the fans shouting, "You don't know what you're doing. Does that hurt?" He said, "Look, it just doesn't." I mean, this is the crazy thing. He comes out and says, "It just doesn't affect. It doesn't affect me." If that's what the fans feel, and if they feel that I'm not doing a good job, then they've got every right to express that. They pay their hard-earned money. They follow the club, and they'll be here long after I'm gone. It doesn't affect me. While I focus on the things that I can control, I can't control the fans. I can't control, but many things. There's many things I can control, but I can't control the fans. I can control our football, the way we play, and the way we conduct ourselves, and that is what I concentrate on. we're going to quickly squeeze in our first break of the show for our listeners on audio. Look, we have got over 8,000 of you that are watching the show live. Thanks so much, as always, for your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. Please keep liking. If you can, please keep hitting that subscribe button for us. That's great. Share this out to a worldwide Spurs audience for us. It's really important that I do, again, highlight that there is another change for Spurs protest taking place over the course of the weekend. That will be on Sunday ahead of the Southampton game. We've got a couple of the members from that group, Change for Tottenham, joining us before the end of the week. That will give you more detail on the, obviously, timings of where that protest will be taking place. But again, really important, I think, again, from a night that, again, we've seen a defeat to Chelsea, really important that we try and ramp up the numbers for that and get as many Spurs fans down there as possible before the game. You know, because I think we're at a point now where, as I've said in my own opening piece, nobody really recognises what this football club is anymore. You know, with all due respect, you've got the manager that is falling out with the fans. You've got fans that are falling out with the fans. You've got a chairman midweek that he's criticising the fans for wanting more as the club sit as a ninth richest club in the world. And the following day, he gave me that message. I got an email saying, don't want to book my Chris Brown tickets. I mean, you would generally think this is some kind of soap opera. It is Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, and it is the club that does keep on giving and giving and giving. And as they keep on giving, Tottenham do, like I say, in terms of the Premier League table, do remain 14th for now. They have, like I say, got that record of 16 Premier League defeats across the season. It's 20 defeats overall. You know, it's also now 50 defeats in the last 25 games in general. And you know, I made that point earlier. Postecoglou becomes the first Tottenham boss to lose his first 4 league games against Chelsea. No side has earned fewer points in Premier League London derbies this season. And it's quite, again, starting from the November 6th defeat to Chelsea, going all that way back to now. We've suffered more league defeats than wins. 28 league defeats to 22 wins. So in total, you know, you go back to that November the 5th, 2023, before the Chelsea game at home, we've lost 36 games. Only 4 ever-present Premier League teams have taken fewer points than us this season. No shot on target in the opening 45 minutes at Chelsea meant it was the 10th time we have failed to register a shot on target in the first half of a Premier League game under Ange Postecoglou. That's more than the last 2 managers combined. Antonio Conte, 6. Nuno Espirito Santo, 2. Our away form has also been horrendous. Only relegation-threatened sides, Leicester and Southampton, have lost more Premier League away games than us. Spurs have also lost a staggering 15 of our last 29 Premier League games, taking us over the 50% mark. Oh, I mean, we've also got a points per average for the season of 1.17. I mean, it's... Oh, Crackers hasn't fallen over there in the background.
Brother, I've got one more for you, Rick, as well. Sorry, mate, to do this to you, but again, like when we're speaking about who we are as a club, and again, I think we are at that point, sort of episodically, this program, we really are kind of in a bit of a quandary as to what do we speak about this evening, chaps? You know, like what is it that we can discuss? And so we do need to get into not the minutiae of it necessarily, but let's get into the guts of it. You know, the foundations. So we've played Chelsea in the Premier League. I don't know, obviously there was a history before the Premier League, of course, but we've played Chelsea in the Premier League 66 times. Do you know how many times we've won?
Once.
8 times in 66.
Oh, 8 times 66. Oh, you mean
8 times in 66 goes. I mean, just think about that. Think of somebody, if you're a cricket person, somebody bowls the ball at you 66 times and you hit it 8 times.
It's a mentality. But we know
66 penalties and you score 8 of them.
I hear you, just a mentality problem.
Brother, that's who we are, right? And so to kind of add further credence and solidity and variation to clarify what it was I was saying before about what the word mentality means, it's that. Unless that changes,
I mean,
we don't have a chart. And again, man, I've been on the show before, and we all feel this, man. I want to win this thing. I don't want to compete. Even at our best, peak under Poch, we didn't win anything, man.
But we're Teeth. We're in this situation now. I've said this so many times now. We are firmly in that Mike Ashley hamster wheel at the very ending of what Newcastle fans felt, where those fans got to a point where They are just simply existing
And
and
that was one of the
awaiting a
examples,
change.
actually. One of the guys, I think his name's Mike
Yeah.
Warmington. He said, we can look at Newcastle and Villa as they've shifted their mentality just in a couple of years. Now, obviously, we look at what happened there and why that mentality shifted, but it can be done. And also this kind of slow rebuild, that's nonsense. It doesn't need to be slow.
But you
it's
know
a
what?
major decision and then it can change.
Yeah. But I mean, this is the thing. As I'm talking to you here, and people get this in the morning on their morning wake up, this is what sums Tottenham up right now. Newcastle and Spurs are in talks over a lucrative pre-season friendly in Seoul. I mean, that kind of tells you everything where we are as a football club right now. And I didn't bring it up in the preview show, but we missed obviously the fact that Tottenham had agreed the first North London derby outside of London. That's going into Hong Kong in the summer. You know, I don't recognise what Tottenham are anymore. And this is a big problem for a lot of fans out there. Why there is those protests. I can see Cracks, you're eager to come in there for me.
Rick, to be fair, I don't think this is a Tottenham thing. I think this is a football thing.
I concur.
I think you'll find that Man U, Arsenal, Tottenham, Liverpool, City, United, they're all doing these sort of playing games overseas and the tournaments and yada, yada, yada. It is just something that football clubs at this level now have to do to stay
these are
in
massive
that branding and money.
Global conglomerates.
Yeah.
You have to do it. And Crackers and all of us, viewers, listeners, I don't want to speak for us, but I'm sure I know the answer. I don't have a problem with that as long as that money generated goes back into the team. No one has a problem. No one has a problem with Levy taking the football club from a club that used to make about £300 million a year to now a business that's apparently worth over £4 billion. Nobody has a problem with that. No one is going to question Daniel Levy's business acumen. However, all of that money must be generated back into the success of the football club, or we're a laughing stock. I've said this on the show before as well. You're that guy who turns up with the full kit and all the gear, no idea.
But can I tell on that point,
all these bells and whistles, but we're not a successful football team. It's embarrassing.
On this point about business acumen, maybe I would have agreed with you on that. Maybe a couple of years ago. I'm at a point now where is it business acumen, Cracks, to keep a guy in that is, with all due respect, in Postecoglou, it's tarnishing the relationship with the fans week upon week. We've got a genuine opportunity this season, I think, to win a competition where, with all due respect, the calibre of what's left in this Europa League, and I mean this in the most politest way, because I know Spurs are no great football club at the moment, with the squad that we've assembled and what we've got, and it needs improvement, but I will go back to this point. Do you not think, Cracks, a different voice in there for these final remaining games could get something out of these players? Because you can't tell me, Cracks, based on what we're seeing right now, we're going to seriously have a chance of winning this Europa League. You've got the manager that is cupping his ear to the fans. We've had that response back. You can't tell me we're going to have a chance of winning this Europa League, are we? How are we going to win a Europa League like this?
Rick, everything comes down to a financial decision with this board. So there's obviously a financial implication of sacking him before the end of the season. We sacked a manager just before a cup final because allegedly we would have had to have paid a large bonus, which would have outweighed what would have been brought in from winning that cup financially. So I can only assume, and this is a personal assumption, that if we sack him before the end of the season, it will cost more than keeping him and potentially winning the Europa League. It's as simple. You can't, if you think to yourself, okay, get rid of him, bring somebody in, get new manager bounce, win the Europa League. We from that win £2 or £3 million. To sack him costs £4.5–5 million. So keeping him will be cheaper. So the only reason he is in the job is because it has a financial implication, which is all that this board cares about. Your happiness, the success of the club, from just a football aspect, is for the birds. It's neither here nor there. Every decision at the football club is made on a financial basis and a financial basis only. That is what's keeping him in a job at the moment. At the end of the season, that compensation must drop off drastically, absolutely drastically. So, I mean, we don't know the ins and outs of his contracts, but I'm willing to bet that's what it comes down to. This is simply financial decisions. He got Jose the sack. It's keeping him in a job.
I mean, Dal, you're all about motivation, right? I know you as a person, you're all about, looking to see the positiveness in life. Can you try and give me an understanding in your mind how this manager, with all due respect to his falling out of love with the fans, it also looks like he's falling out of love with the football club in general. I've been watching the recent interviews, the pre-match ones. To me, he looks like a man that knows the writing is on the wall, and he's almost kind of playing out the inevitable now. That we see a lot of Spurs managers where, again, the question around the fact, we've got some outstanding candidates, in waiting, if they want to move on. His reaction around the Pochettino question. Can he still motivate these players in your mind to win the Europa League from what we're seeing right now?
Okay, let's go deep. Can he motivate these players to do something? I'm going to pause that sentence and go, these players shouldn't need him to do that.
I agree.
But stay with me, Rick. Stay with me. I'm going to get back to him too. They should now be at home going, we have 8 games of the season to give our fans something to smile about and give ourselves something to be proud of. And we have a cup that we can still win. That should be their full motivation. And also, if, as Crackers quite rightly said, it's so money driven right now, football and Tottenham, and the way the world is working, you're playing for your contract. You're playing for your job. That should be the factor for every player in that squad. Now, then you put Ange back into the system. He has always struck me as somebody who is reactive. And I'm watching him. His heart is on his sleeve. He's reacting to moments. And he said a statement about he always wins in his second season. And that's going to be in the back of his head too. And now he's getting wound up because the fans say he doesn't know what he's doing. He's got a massive point to prove to himself. And the biggest motivator in life should be the motivation for you to do good for yourself. And I think Andy's here going, as Crackers quite rightly said, people going, you in the 2-Bob League in Scotland. You can't do it in the Prem. Yes, I can. You did it out in a foreign country and now you're in the Premier League. You can't cut it here. Yes, I can. If he can't walk into that dressing room now and go, lads, if you can't do it for me, if you can't do it for yourself, get out. That would be my sim. All I need is 11. If you ain't got it, get out. I'll just take the 11. And if the 11 is 3 goalkeepers, I'll play a goalkeeper at right back. If you don't want to fight for this, if you don't want to win for the fans, if they're shouting at me and saying, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm trying to show you what to do. If you can't show them, I can't show them. Let's all go home. But we've still got something to fight for. If he wants to record this and play it to them, go for it. But I'm telling you now, he can still do it if he wants to. If he still believes in himself, if still got a little bit of fight in him, he can. And that's the thing where, as fans, we need to see that. That's why I know we've gone past the cupping of the ear. If he had gone, all right, I did it, I'm ashamed of myself, but you know what? I did it because I'm passionate and I want to win. And I made a substitution and it nearly worked. Pape Sarr nearly got the goal that I thought he would do. I looked at him on the bench and said, he can do a job for me. And he nearly did the job I needed him to do. I'm that close. Football is margins. It's such thin margins. And today, it wasn't our day. The first half weren't too bad. We were still in it.
No, the first half wasn't
after that, it fell away. Now I'm saying, Ange, he's still got an opportunity to really go, I can still make a name for myself. He's in such a privileged position to still have that because the season's been an absolute mess. It's been a mess.
Now, managers have been sacked for far less. I mean, I just want to say, could you imagine? I don't want to go back too far. Sorry, Chase, take us back to that ear coming for a second. Could you imagine if Antonio Conte or Jose Mourinho had cut their ear to the Spurs fan base, what the reaction would have been like? Could you imagine, Dal?
You know what? It probably would have been worse. Worse.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the reaction would have, people would have gone mental.
Yeah. And I think also the reason why we're in that situation is because now we're a bit broken as well.
Of course we are.
When he did it to a broken fan base. And also he did it at an away game as well. He was
18 days away from it. He's at 18 days away, from this He's had 18 days away from the Fulham incident. I can't believe nobody is talking to this guy. In any industry you're in, there's a certain decorum you've got to have, to represent yourself as a manager in the Premier League, let alone a manager of Tottenham. People might laugh when I say that. I mean, what's your engagement for you, TJ, at the moment with regards to the fact that, again, Spurs have still got the Europa League here. Like Cracker said, he maybe feels there's more of a financial potentially thing around why they may be keeping him allegedly with regards to how that contract would be worked out. I mean, for me, I said it earlier in the show, we are heading to a really, really quite spiteful divorce here at the moment.
Definitely. I mean, listen, we've been saying this again all year. It has been a bit of an anomaly of a season. And that anomaly continues because we are just wretched in the Premier League, wretched, devoid of any kind of creativity or ideas or even hunger or desire, effort or application. However, we are in this bizarre position where we're in the quarterfinal of a major European tournament. So listen, we don't have long to wait to see how this is going to pan out. There's only a couple of episodes left in this.
Are you talking in general of the podcast, or do you mean?
That's wishful thinking on your part.
I thought you were writing my own obituary there for a second.
Exactly. Imagining you in your Hawaiian shirt, just thinking, "Oh my goodness, that show was a distant memory." We are still in this tournament, and so let's see. Of course, the mood is. People, and I understand people saying, "Oh, there's no chance we win that." Maybe you're right. I'm always going to be a glasses half full person, and I'm also going to look at this team and this squad and go, "There's definitely, to Darren's point, it's definitely at least 11 players that I could pick that I think could go and do a job." I do think we have good enough players at this football club to beat Frankfurt, beat whoever we got to face next, and probably then go to Bilbao which is going to be really tough. But that's a coin flip by then, isn't it? So, statistically, we can do it. It's possible, right? So that's what I'm kind of looking forward to. And our entire season rests on that. And again, rightfully so, if we do win that, I understand that's a sizable if. If we win that, we bring considerable silverware to the club, to a trophy cabinet that, hasn't seen action since Bush was in office. Pun intended, by the way. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Derek. And also, we then gain access to the Champions League. What?
You know what? I mean,
so that's where we are. That's just the reality of it.
Oh my God!
Let's see, bro.
I don't think even I could convince you guys to come in here without POSTECOGLOU'S Managers in the Champions League.
Imagine we're here next season talking about how was that game against Madrid.
I'm thinking, how much further could that high line get against Real Madrid?
Exactly.
And about the
so we lost 9-2, but we're in the Champions League. Exactly.
Cracks, before we close and move on, have you ever known a situation like this at Tottenham where there's such a poisonous running throughout the club, from the chairman down to the manager to the fan base? The thing is, when Ange came in, many pinned their hopes on the fact that you could try and reconnect with a manager. And those first 10 games that we spoke about, it's hard to believe, isn't it, now? When you see the breakup, what we're going through here, it's mad to think how you had that moment of angels in the stadium, the great James Black, and those kind of scenes after 10 games. And you look at it now and think, how did we ever have a connection with this manager? When you look at, and you now fast forward to the amount of incidents that we've gone through and been through with this guy. I mean, is it more damage to keep him on, do you think, Cracks, to the end of the season from what we're seeing right now? Because I just fear it could still get worse. We've got some really tough away games to come. It can still get worse than this. I know people don't want to hear that. It could get worse. Yeah, it may get worse. It probably will get worse.
We could end up with our worst ever loss percentage in a season ever. Quite easily.
In a 20 league Premier League season.
Quite easily. A lot of how we feel about, or how disillusioned, disenfranchised we feel. I mean, I go back to when I was younger in the relegation season, but then not everything was shot through the prism of social media and podcasting and YouTubing like it is now. So it was very, very different dynamics of the fan base. What you've got, there's so much that feeds into how you feel about the club, because now with the new stadium being built as well, all of those subconscious cues around the club make it look like this is a huge football club. That stadium's just, it's the best in the world. So you kind of get this feeling of, wow, something big football wise must happen here, and it doesn't. And this must be a board that runs a real titan of a football club, and they don't. It's an entertainment industry. So a lot of what you're seeing versus what you actually get is very, very different. It's a bit like going into one of my restaurant analogies, and you're paying £100 for a meal, and it's not great. But then you turn up somewhere else and pay a tenner for it with less ingredients, and it's a good meal. So it's that's the problem. That's the problem you get. What you're being fed visually and what you're having to pay for versus what you're getting feeds the anger even further. So much has changed in football from some of the really bad times. Even when you go back to some of the real rubbish that we got served up in the 90s, it's just not shot through the prism of what it is now. So so many things feed into how people are feeling, and the globalization of the game as well around the world. Of course. Commentary and media attention on football, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. This all feeds into either your high highs or your low lows with it all.
Gut question, just a yes or no before I promise you are going to move on now. Just discuss some of the elements of the game very quickly. Gut feeling, Cracks, yes or no? Ange is here. It's the end of the season as things stand.
Yeah, I think he is. To be honest, I think he will be now. Even when the Europa goes, or if it goes, I think it is. It's once that's done, then why sort of bother really? Might as well just see it out to the end of the season. That lap of honour at the end of the season will be interesting, won't it? So, do you know what, Rick? Something we don't talk about a lot on this show is there's quite a few players in this team that need to take a look at themselves as well.
Listen,
and the way they've conducted themselves.
Listen, very fair question. Very fair question.
With all of this, I know that you need a manager to motivate you, etc., etc. And he's done himself absolutely no favours, but a lot of those chaps that turn it out week in, week out really need to cop on. But there's a lot of people scrabbling to find their 60, 70, 80 quid a week to go and watch this. They may have their issue with the manager and how he to play, but there's still fans in those stands that should and be getting better from them. So there's culpability amongst the players as well in all of this.
Well, I promise you, we're going to come on to the players very shortly on this point. Just very quickly before we do, again, close off on this now for good, this point. We've done an hour on this. I think I will just say again, I think the situation around the fact that incident very much has overshadowed really the show, I'll be honest with you. And it's hard to get away from that because of just how much that incident has caused a lot of uproar amongst Spurs fans in general, how much media have also ran with that. I mean, Dale, do you feel the same as Cracks, that whatever happens, Europa League, no Europa League, performances, however they're going to come about, you think he'll be here come the end of the season? He will be there for that lap of honour?
Yep, he will be there. I feel financially, there's so many other things going on behind the closed doors, and also who you get in, and Ryan Mason is not an option.
Teach, we'll move on. You feel the same on that point?
I concur for exactly the same reason that the chaps have already articulated so perfectly.
Fine. Listen, we're going to move on. Again, a massive thank you over there. There is already nearly 10,000 of you that are watching the show live. Thanks again, guys, for all the incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. We appreciate it's a late show, so again, I will thank this wonderful panel here. Richard Crackers Cracknell compared, finest actors in the land, the wonderful Darren Hartman, TJ Ramini taking you to your screens. A reminder, As always, we're delighted to be sponsored by NordVPN. God, if anyone needs NordVPN for a holiday, now is the time to go and get yourself. I say get yourselves away. We had 18 days to get yourselves away. I don't blame you if you need to go away for another 18 days after this. Nord are always great out there. It obviously allows you to encrypt security for you if you're looking to watch your favourite programmes in an alternative country, location if you're travelling. Of course, we've still got our European journey, which you may need this for. So I implore you to go and check out nordvpn.com/LWOS. Our link gives you 4 extra months for free on a 2-year plan. There is no risk with Nord's 30-day back money guarantee. Right, we are going to turn our attention very quickly to some of the aspects of that Chelsea game that we're going to fly through. We're not going to put you through untold misery and pain. I promise you I won't. Ange did make 5 changes to his Tottenham team to face Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. We saw Mickey van der Ven, Lucas Bergvall, James Maddison, Wilson Odobert, and Heung-Min Son come into the team as Ben Davies, Archie Gray, Yves Bissouma, Brennan Johnson, and Matisse Tell all dropped out to the bench. Richarlison wasn't part of the matchday squad despite recently returning to training at Hotspur Way. There's confidence he'll be back in the Tottenham squad very, very soon. I always feel reluctant about Richarlison because every time he does come back, he most likely breaks down again, but there's confidence he'll be back in the matchday squad soon. Kevin Danso, Dejan Kulusevski, they remain out, but Ange indicated on Wednesday the duo are reportedly a couple of weeks away from training, but Ange did rule out Kulusevski from the first leg of that Eintracht Frankfurt game. You'd argue it was interesting to see Spence start, not Porro, given Postecoglou was really made Porro really his first choice defender when available, really. It means Spence's form has made him deserve that place in the team. You had Van der Ven, Romero starting a game together in the Premier League for the first time since Spurs lost to Chelsea inadvertently on December the 8th. It was also the first time Vicario, Romero, Van der Ven and Solanke started together in the Premier League for the first time since October. That Tottenham team read Vicario, Spence, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Bentancur, Bergvall, Maddison, Odobert, Solanke, Son. A bench of Kingsky, Porro, Davis, Gray, Bissouma, Sarr, Johnson, Tell, Moore. And, you know, again, I mean, familiar kind of start to a Tottenham game that we've seen really throughout, all due respect, with Chelsea hitting the post in the opening minute of a game. And I think, again, we go back to kind of Spurs' starts to games. And I think TG was on him the last time we actually brought this up. I think when you look back at starts to games, I mean, with Ipswich, we could have gone down very early on, a couple of goals we conceded. There's been obviously, in course, in that run that we had, you have to forgive me, obviously the games that we had, there was similar situations where we're lucky not to be 1-0 down in the opening couple of minutes of a game.
Yeah.
What is that for you? I mean, Crack's mentioned about the players before, and it's quite inadvertent. I don't know if anyone saw it. There was almost like the image or the video of the warm-up where the players were almost sent to warm up, and it was a bit of a
lethargic sort of,
I mean, I wonder, just to move on to this point, how much do the players take responsibility for this season? The fact that we do sit on that record point of 16 defeats, 20 overall. It's all very well blaming the manager, which I think we've done, you know, for a lot on this show so far. But going to Crack's point there, Tej, how much do the players need to take a long, hard look at themselves? You know, James Maddison after the game, very, you know, again, adamant that, you know, the players have to look at themselves. It's not been a good enough season, but I think we're
pick up Enzo then when he makes a free run into a box.
We're sick of words. Where's actions to these words? Where's actions to these words?
As far as culpability, man, again, gang, for the viewers and listeners, you know, we've all known each other on this panel for a long time, man, and we got a lot of love and respect for each other. And so we always have a little chat before we come onto the air. And we were having a specific conversation about personal responsibility. And all of us were saying that in our chosen professions, which are all in the arts, right, we have to kind of pump ourselves up and get ready to go and give our greatest performance every single time, or you just won't get hired again. It's just as simple as that. You know, your margin of error is kind of zero. And so to answer your question, Rick, how much personal responsibility should the players take? I guess the answer is, and not wishing to get too esoteric here, but I guess it depends on the kind of person that you are, because I am going to speak for Darren, I am going to speak for Crackers, and I'm going to speak for you as well, Rick. All of us need no motivation from anybody else. Come bursting out the gates, I'm going to give 100%, or if I'm turning up, I'm turning up. And that's all of me. And if that's good enough, then I'll win. And if it isn't, then you'll win. But guess what? You'd have to beat me into the dust because I will never capitulate, ever. And so it depends on who you are as a person. Now, I am going to factor in the fact that these are young men. some of them very, very young men. So do they look to a kind of father figure or an older
or a leader
person in their life and say, I do need that person to give me a little bit extra gumption or extra energy or whatever it is. And so that's where that relationship meets. That's the pinnacle of that relationship. However, we have a number of senior players who shouldn't need the quote unquote arm around the shoulder. And on the pitch, it's not up to the manager to come out and go, come on, guys, pull yourselves up by the bootstraps. That's up to the captain, to the vice captains, all of which, by the way, I remember Hartman saying this a while ago, right? You said, bro, you said all of them were on the pitch, right? Well, that was again tonight. We've got Son, we've got Maddison, and we've got Romero. I just don't see it happening, man. And it's not about kicking off. Like if you know what this is, bro, what you've just shown? That's good for the cameras. That's good for the cameras. You know, we don't believe that because you're kicking off because Cole will push Romero or whatever, that doesn't show your passion for the club and that you're fighting for the fans. Do it with your work, man. That's such an empty, you know what I call, like when you see guys pushing each other in the car park at the pub, either swing, man, or just say, mate, should we just leave this and go back inside and have a drink? Do you know what I mean? Don't push each other in the car park, man. Come on. It's so hollow. And so as far as personal responsibility goes, you should come firing at the gates. And if you do come firing at the gates, you're not going to get anything. I can't remember. Somebody said it in the comments. I do apologize to the person that said it. We have conceded so many goals, 5 minutes of half time, both sides, right?
Yeah, both sides.
That's pure concentration and
mentality.
And it's the same from those opening 5 minutes. Rick, how many times have we joked, brother? Oh my goodness. And remember, the games are early for me. I didn't get a chance to sit down and I'm throwing my coffee in the air because we're already 2-0 down.
How can you be in a situation where, the manager's final message before the players go out should be the most engaging message
Coach
to
Taylor,
the group?
Friday Night Lights.
Or
I'll do it.
I get it,
I'll do it. I'll record it. I'll do it.
Now, can you understand that? Our start to games, those minutes before the players go out should be the most engaged they are in that moment. They're about to take, and you've used a couple of times an analogy, they're about to take to the field for battle. They're about to go out there in a London derby, Chelsea-Tottenham, a fierce rivalry, one of the biggest games of the season for our fan base, for the season that we've had, for the tumultuous results that we've had. The fans want to see something. Give us an inkling. Give us an indication we're going to see something. And yet again, in the first minute, we're nearly 1 down. But this has been far too often this season, our start to games. Are the players not listening? Do they not want to follow instruction? And again, I'll make that point. You probably might have seen it, Dal. The interview with Jed Spence, again, I found that quite fascinating with Rio Ferdinand because I know, again, you spoke, I think quite defensively of Spence at times on this show, Dal, and you've also spoke quite openly about him as a character as well. That I thought was intriguing where, again, I would love to have known if that was even approved by the club, that interview, because there were certain things on that interview that I found really intriguing. But the one that I think for many out there that does stand out is when he's asked the question about leadership and leaders. And they ask him, who are the leaders in this Spurs squad? And it takes him 10, 15 seconds to give an answer of a leader. And it kind of strikes upon you that it's maybe a Tottenham thing or it's a football thing or it's a life thing maybe now. There's a real lack of leadership and guidance in that dressing room, it feels. He eventually did answer with Maddison, which says a lot really with Maddison because, again, he's a player that I know for many out there. He looks the part. Does he play the part? Again, he's had a decent amount of goal contributions this season, but I don't know. What do you feel for the players, Dal, to come on to Cracker's point there? How much responsibility do you put on them for this season?
Anyone who's listened to me on the pod, I try and be as consistent as I can be. And I've always looked at the players. I've always said they've got to lead themselves and there's got to be a lot of accountability. We can't just throw Ange under the bus. These guys have to take accountability. And you say, what happens at the start? They come out the dressing room and it's always a mess. And I always look at boxers. They came out and it's like, I'm not going to hit you. I'm going to wait for you to hit me and go, how hard are you going to hit me? And then I'll work out what I can do from that. And we seem to always start off going, go on, let you play.
You come at us.
Yeah, you do your thing and then we'll react to that. And we've never been good at it. And we've never, ever been able to recover because we get slapped so hard. And as TJ quite rightly highlighted, we've got a lot of young people in that squad. There's a lot of young men in that squad that need leaders and are trying to find their feet. And they're looking at their gaffer, who is very muted a lot of the time on the touchline, and he's kind of going. And if you're a young man looking at that, you go, "What am I getting from this? Because you're not giving me nothing. You look at your captains, nothing."
To interact with you, down, you come back on that point with the manager's presence on the touchline. We've said it so many times. Cracken said it as well. There's almost this kind of feeling that he's going to allow the players to work out what they need to do. But is there that argument, Dale, that almost the players, and I see this with other managers as well, they need to coach their players throughout the game because teams are making changes, they're making adjustments. Now, how many times do you see a team switch a formation during the game? Sure, that's down to the manager or the coaching on the touchline then to try and guide the players through the game. We don't seem to have any interaction from the bench to the actual pitch of anything really that's changing throughout the game. I mean, how much of that is a big, big factor in what we've seen across the season, really? The results and the way we haven't really at times adapted or changed to the nature of how the game state is.
I think in the in-game changing, it is a challenge if you're a player and the system you've been sent out with isn't working and you look to your gaffer and he's not giving you a new instruction. Now, that's hard. I think the issue I have with Spurs a lot of the time is whatever the initial plan was, it never ever get executed. Like, I look at Solanke, and I know there's been lots of mentions of Solanke in the comments about what people think of him as a player, how well or bad he plays. You can't judge a man who gets no service. It's impossible to judge a striker who doesn't get a ball played to him. I can't remember the last time we hit a cross in the box for him to fly his head at. I can't remember the last time he was in the box because he does so much work trying to win the ball back, gets deeper and deeper. If you watched at one point, and I really wish I remembered the number of minutes on the clock, at one point, Solanke was picking up the ball outside our box.
Yep.
He came that deep to win the ball. Maddison does it. And we go, so who's long now? If you're here, who's there? And that's so frustrating to watch because we compress the pitch on ourselves. We make more problems for ourselves. So many of our problems are self-made.
It's all self-inflicted.
Yeah.
They're all self-inflicted.
It's all inflicted on our own. Yeah. And as fans, we can see it because, of course, if you're watching in the stadium, we have a bird's eye view. If you're watching from home, you've got the luxury of the cameras. We can see so many of the issues that are being made. And it's frustrating to watch. And I think as a footballer or as any human being, if you're doing something that isn't working, you will try a different way. It's just common sense. And I watch a lot of our players and I go, wow, your selection, your choices in that moment are really bad. And is that because your confidence has gone so you don't trust yourself anymore? Or is it just out of pure frustration? Do you go, I'm just doing what I'm told. I'm just doing what I'm told.
Spence, you know what, at Heartman, to say this, Spence said it, in his interview. They asked him, in the middle of the game, Rio asked him, do you, at game state, look at the situation and adapt accordingly, or do you just focus on what the manager tells you? And he said, look, the manager will never be angry at us if we follow what he tells us. And it feels like, let you come back on this, Heartman, it feels like that really, as long as they stick to what Ange just told them to do and don't deviate away from that, they're not going to be criticised. And what worries me about that, they want to stick to what Ange tells them to do, which is great for the manager, but is it great for the way we're playing?
But then there's that interesting thing, because if we go back to when we first started, Ange told them, try things, I won't be upset if you try. That I remember those words. He gave them the license to be
Mickey
free.
van der Ven came out publicly, remember, D?
Yeah.
He goes, even when we're practicing, we're knocking the ball around the back, even if it ends up in the goal, they say, don't worry, keep playing. Right? Mickey said that. Remember how ironic. Sorry to interrupt you, brother. But
perfect. Because he, as you said, if Jed Spence is saying, if I do what I'm told to do, I'm okay. And what started to happen is we're starting to play within ourselves. We're not making brave choices. Son doesn't make brave choices. No. Johnson doesn't. Madison doesn't. It's got simple. Everyone goes, I'll just do this simple thing and let someone else be brave. We have no one going, I'll be brave. I will go for it. We lose Decky when we don't have Kulu in there. It's a struggle. Jed can't do it but Spence can't do it from right back. He's the one person who has that idea of I want to try something. And that's scary when you buy a player like Madison who should be doing it and doesn't. There's so many bits that don't make sense. And I think that's why I go.
Bergval's outplaying him as well, man. Bergval is outplaying him week after week. Right? 19 years old.
Giving it a go.
Yeah. I mean, even at first half cracks, I know come over very quick on this goalkeepers union part. I want to get your thoughts on Vicario because look, I think we all think Vicario. I mean, up until this game, that he's one of the leaders there. But his erratic nature around the goal in the first half. I mean, at a time where we need calmness, composure away at Stamford Bridge. What was it with Vicario in that first half? What was going on with Vicario in that? What are we seeing that first half with Vicario? The touches,
stinker.
What was going on?
He just simply had a stinker. But
he smashed the advertising board at the end, didn't he? As he walked down the tunnel.
Yeah. The decision to punch. I was watching the game with my lad Tom. Just goalkeeper 24/7, and he was like, "What's the man?
Catch the thing.
Catch it. Catch it. Just catch it." But this is, sometimes, but as I said, this is goalkeepers. If you're a player up top and you miss a couple of sitters, people are like, "Oh, okay. Go again. With goalkeepers, when you have a bit of a stinker like this, it just really highlights. It's just more visual, more devastating, more, oh my God, that was nearly a goal we gave away. But then at the end of the half, pulls off an absolute worldie of a save.
That's a great save, cracking save at the end of the half.
To keep us in it, I mean, apart from that sort of incident in the first minute and that incident in the last minute, that first half was as flat as a pancake, 0-0. And quite dull, but you kind of think to yourself, "I'll take that at Stamford Bridge away from where we are and what's what." If the whole game ends up like this and it's 0-0, that would almost feel like a bit of progression. But to start with, he was all over the place, but he did settle.
He did settle down in the second half. It's worrying though. I mean, again, that's a player that's been obviously moved into the leadership group.
Yeah,
which again,
it's confidence, Rick, isn't it? It's just confidence around.
It's going right
around the squad at the moment. Everybody's just got the jitters at the moment. Nobody's really going, "Come on, boys, suck it up." Really getting round everybody. You just don't. You don't see it. You don't see it from the very top. From the boardroom. There's no focus on football, and there's no right. Let's put this right. Let's deal with this. And the manager, and then the captain, and the players. It's just seeped through the whole club that the focus is off and it's wrong. And the confidence is wrong. It's just top to bottom at the moment. And the board, a lot of people I won't say most, a lot of people think that their time's now done and there just needs to be a refocus. But then a lot of this would be helped if the manager came in that we just all had a little bit more confidence in as well. That would, they're front of house, aren't they? The manager for both the playing side and upstairs as well. They are that figurehead, and if you've got somebody there, doing what they do, that takes a lot of heat off of everything. I mean, this is the same board at the club, but when Poch was here, and we didn't all feel like this then, did we? They become a real important focal point. So you kind of think to yourself, if and when we get a new manager and it's somebody that seems to have a little bit more about them than the current incumbent, a lot of this mistakes and the way the confidence will change, and a lot of the way we feel will change as well.
Yep. Look, I'm going to move us on from the first half, but just to kind of finish on that first half, we had a first half where towards the end of it, Solanke had 9, Son 11, and Manson had 12 touches of the ball towards the end of that first half. The fewest touches in the pitch at that point, which kind of summed up really a first half that Chelsea would have been frustrated that they hadn't taken more control of the game and arguably gone in with a lead at half time. There was that moment, I think, Romero, I mean, I don't want you making this down very quick with Romero, this incident where there's that flare up there. He's involved in this kind of altercation with Chalobah. Both of them are punished with a booking. It all started with Romero pushing Cole over when he had his ball under his arm. I mean, T's already given his view on this kind of incident itself, but it's a shame. We would like to see this passion actually throughout the game, not in one isolated incident. Spurs, they had more offsides free than they had shots on target going into the first half into the second half of the game. I mean, we just drifting at the moment, Dal. It just feels like we're drifting, doesn't it? It feels like we're drifting.
Yeah, we are. And also, like, I know why that moment happened, because
Yeah.
Ramiro needs something to get him going.
Yeah.
That's what
He has to
was trying
react. He has to
find.
react as well, because Cole put a stab on him early on. Yep.
And it's funny, if you watch it again, the person who was actually the most wound up was Bentancur. Like, he absolutely lost his marbles. He was all over the shop. And for me, I watched the player 5 minutes after that. And if you don't mind, I know we're gonna go to Sarr's goal and the disallowed goal.
Yep.
When you watch Bentancur after that moment, his head is gone. His head was gone for most of the game. Now, when Sarr had his little run in with I can't remember who it was now. We had his run in
Caicedo.
Caicedo, thank you, my man.
Caicedo.
We had his run in with Caicedo. After that, there's a little bit of words between them, and it keeps going. And you watch Sarr, and he's fired up, and he knew he fouled him. He knew, because he stops. He makes the foul. He stops. You're not going to blow the whistle. Okay. Then he smashes that ball with the anger of what he's just gone through. And when I see players channeling it in that way, I go, that's football. There we go. You found your motivator. That's what you're doing. If you can't get it from your gaffer, get it in the game and use it. Unfortunately, the foul got pulled back. But when I watch players just get into skirmishes and then still play rubbish, I'm like, guys, what are we doing here? It makes no sense.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Let's quickly go through that first goal. Tish, come over to you. I mean, again, it's typical Tottenham marking, really. Palmer's that time to deliver an inviting cross. Fernandez has the space to head home with ease. He's unmarked in the 6-yard box. Chelsea go in front. Typical, it's Palmer's first assist since the 1st of December. But the defending in general for this goal, I mean, the way it comes about, the nature of it. You've got Enzo winning a header right between Van der Ven and a doggy. Spence, you said there was some blame. He's ball watching as well. I'm not sure what Van der Ven is actually doing at this point. Beyond me, he's overcoming Romero for no reason. We've seen a goal too many times like this, haven't we? Where again, there's no real guidance, leadership at the back to deal with it, and it's a very, very simple goal that we concede again.
Yeah, it is, and again, talking about the handbags of people pushing each other and all that kind of thing, we're not impressed by that, man. Come on. You opened the show, Rick, by talking about not insulting our intelligence. We've been watching this game for a long time, man. And especially this season, man. You think, we're going to go, look, they love us because, they're pushing each other on the edge of the penalty area. Like, if you love us, man, and you want to make a point, there's another angle of that goal. I don't know if you have it, where you can see Maddison, Bergvall, and Son all standing on the edge of our penalty area, looking, by the way, at the goal. So you can see Fernandez run in, go with him. That whole thing, I play every Friday, and I've talked about that before. Cracker's son is a goalkeeper. You're watching the games all the time. Rick, you watch the game. That there's so much to be said at any level.
There's no self-awareness, though, is there? There's no self-awareness.
But also, give them nothing. You know what I mean? Give them nothing. Just make it difficult today. They're not a great side.
No,
but our history against this team is far from illustrious.
Yep.
So a great part, again, of my motivational speech as the manager to these boys is let's make it difficult for them today, boys. Just nothing soft. Win your 50-50s. Be first to the ball. Every time the ball is in the air, jump and make sure that you challenge. Don't give it away needlessly. Make it difficult. Don't let people turn. Stuff like that. Don't push people once the referee's blown the whistle because you think somebody might take a picture and you can repost it on Instagram and go, I'm well-armed me. No one cares, man. Grow up. You're a professional footballer. Your job is to win games, not earn clicks on Instagram because you flexed your muscles by, pushing Caicedo when he was on the ground. Pick these people up, man. Give them nothing. And again, this comes back to personal responsibility to a man. But the players, that's like under 14s football.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is,
and again, Darren said, my goodness, Solanke would have paid you a week's wages for one of those crosses. It just so happened that Jadon Sancho today looked like a Spurs player rather than a Chelsea, but he just couldn't. He was so negative. He didn't believe in himself. Again, it was so easy for Spence to go, okay, bro, I'm going to let you touch the ball a couple of times with your left foot because you're coming right. You're coming right. He didn't once take him on the outside and whip and across. He couldn't do it. So Cole Palmer's like, you know what, man, I'll do this. Goal.
We've seen so many goals like this of this nature. I mean, Chelsea score a second, but after a VAR check, it was ruled out for offside. It's a week or so before that he's introduced the semi-automated offside. So you would imagine this will stop incidents like this occurring. That VAR process did take 4 minutes. So, yeah, we had 12 minutes added on at the end. More torture for us, 12 extra minutes at the end. Spurs then opt to make a change. This is where, again, we lead back to that incident which we discussed in the opening part of the show where Ange decides to take off Bergvall and Odegaard for Sarr and Johnson. It is to Spurs fans imploring that you don't know what you're doing towards Ange Postecoglou. In that moment, Sarr strikes a sweet shot that Robert Sanchez somehow let in. I mean, terrible goal. I mean, to be fair,
Rubbish.
I mean, we get crackers.
Darren called it. He's the worst. He's the worst keeper in the league, and I think you're absolutely right, man.
Someone said it. I think T said it to me. Why are we not shooting more at this goalkeeper? It's beggars belief why nobody would have said to the players beforehand, this goalkeeper's got a tendency to let goals in. But we don't shoot. I don't understand why we don't shoot. I mean, crackers. The overall incident itself with Sarr. I mean, look, again, this one was ruled out for a foul on Caicedo in the build-up. Ange was waving his finger saying no, and he's now gesticulating his hands as if to say the game's gone to the fourth official. I mean, what do you make of these VAR incidents, cracks? Is it, again, some they go for you, some they don't go for you, or you got an opinion on these ones?
VAR's not a bad thing. It's just the way it's implemented and what it's implemented for. And, 4 or 5 minutes is just nonsense. It's an absolute nonsense of out here in Spain, we've got this semi-automated offsides now. It just runs so much better. It really does. It's quicker. And it causes less controversy. But to have 4 or 5 minutes just waiting round for a decision, and there is an impact here as well, because if you've got players literally just standing round on a pitch for 4 or 5 minutes and then ask them to start going at full pelt again, you could be asking for some trouble with injuries and that, muscle tweaks, etc., etc. I know we have half time, but that's sort of catered for within the training and stuff that they do in the dressing rooms at half time, etc., to keep muscles going. But that standing round just for 4 or 5 minutes, it's just ridiculous. I never bought into football for that. It's rubbish. And I mean, I know Ange majored on that in his post-match interview to sort of deflect away from him getting himself any hard questions. That VAR this and VAR that, and clear and obvious, and la 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 la, and maybe I can get out of here without being asked any questions about what did you do today, Mr. Postecoglou. I'll rant about VAR, but he does have a point. It shouldn't take that long. If clear and obvious, instant decision. They should have brought a rule in. If you can't make a decision within a minute, the on-field decision stands. But let's see from next week when we get this semi-automated coming in, and we'll go from there, can't we?
We're all waiting for that. Look,
they should implement a clock, crackers. We've talked about this before on the show. You know how in tennis you've got however many seconds, between serves, or if you challenge something again, you have however many seconds. Implement that, and also perhaps give them an opportunity that you have a certain amount of challenges. Again, so we're not stopping it all the time.
You could run an advert on the big screen as well, couldn't you? Run an advert in that 1 minute. I mean, we monetize everything else. Perhaps we could all be sold,
That's right.
Some
As they're
solid wood furniture. We might see Hartman up on the screen.
I'm sure they'll cut to the
Hartman's in every advert I see on UK TV. We might be
Darren could sell us about 6 or 7 different products in 60 seconds.
I could make it happen, gents. I could make it happen.
If you open his jacket,
I'd rather see Dow up there than bloody Chris Brown that's been advertised at the moment, or Lady Gaga. Jesus Christ.
We could all go home with a solid oak bit of furniture or a car for sale for 3 years credit. Hartman's your man. Get the advert up on the screen while the decision's being made.
What makes
I'm
me laugh
here
with
for it,
Dow's?
gents. I'm here for it.
Dow's in every cinema trailer, but he can't get out of the cinema when he's got Tottenham fans debating with him. He can't get out. So he's in the cinema, but he can't get out the bloody cinema when he's trying to leave. Right. We're going to summarise, guys, and we're going to close. We all did feel this could get even worse before it gets better. It has been, guys. It's been such a difficult season. I mean, it has been, and the worry thing is we've got 9 more games to go, plus the Europa League. I mean, we have got Southampton at the weekend. I mean,
What does that mean?
I don't know what it means.
What does that mean, Rick?
I don't know anymore. Are we all just numb to this
Whoa,
now?
are you kidding me? We were this close to
Silence,
Tamworth.
deafening.
I
No,
know.
Southampton. Oh.
We've got to close on this. I mean, do you worry, Dow? I mean, look, you're such a positive person. Do you worry it could get even worse between now and the rest of the season? Because you said to me, you texted me actually before. You texted me before I sent you the fixtures over for April, and you went, Rick, it could get worse, you know. And I went, Dow, how much more worse could it get? We had tonight, so maybe you're right. It can get more worse.
Listen, as I think TJ, I think you summed it up. A lot of clubs are looking forward to playing us right now.
Yeah.
A lot of clubs are excited. Even Southampton will be excited about the prospect.
You're right.
of playing
100%,
Tottenham.
man. What a great scalp.
Yeah.
Make their fans happy. Watch us turn over
Absolutely.
Tottenham. 100%.
And for Southampton, they've got nothing really, with all due respect, to play for now. They're on the beach, same as us.
Yep. So for me, it could get, because obviously you got to look at the records we've got. Like, and a couple more defeats is the worst ever season. You know what I mean? There is statistically, it could get worse. For me, I'm going, save your souls. Like right now, save our souls. Let's try and find the small wins in this end of season, because right now I'm looking at individuals trying to give me something. I'm looking for a moment to get excited about, because ultimately, if I'm not watching, you know. Like,
do you honestly feel that we need? Do we need to pick up? I can't remember. I'm asking this. Do we need to pick up some form of momentum for these European games?
100%. The thing is, it's momentum. It's confidence.
Yep.
There needs to be some kind of headspace or mental shift that you're taking in. You can't just use these games as nothing games and not perform in them. You got to get a performance in, get something out of it to carry forward with you. It's simple. It's basics. But right now, I'm never going to back us to lose. So of course, I'm going into the weekend going, we're going to win the game. But I'm saying it could get worse. It just could.
Well, Dow, you're with us for that do or die second leg against Eintracht Frankfurt. He got out of the first one. I mean, let's hope it's still alive come the second leg.
It will be alive. We're going to keep it alive.
We've got to keep it alive. Dow, thank you so much. I know for someone who's really positive in general life, this has been such a tough season to follow the football club that we all love. But it is what it is, isn't it? You know, again, you have to hope it's going to get better, because how much more can we go through? I mean, it's tough. It's tough.
Living in hope keeps us happy, my man. Living in hope keeps us happy. We can all stay in the dark and misery, because that's the reality. However, if we look for the hope, we'll find it. It will be out there. Small, big, whatever, we'll find the hope. As I say, Spurs, I've said it as a joke before. If watching a game is making your life a misery over the weekend, look around you, find some joy somewhere else. Just give yourself a break. Have a Kit Kat. Have a break. Have a chocolate bar.
You know what, I totally agree, Dale. I just know for many fans out there, football is their escapism, as you know. Exactly. And this is the hard thing. When football is your escapism, and that is really, really crap. I know for a lot of people out there, they message, and so many times I've had messages actually on the show to say how much they need the show. They love the show. They miss the show. They need more of the show. Whilst I'm trying less to record, people want more of it. It's just been a really, really tough season. I know, again, same for you, Tej, as well, that, you know, for someone that's quite a positive person in life, same as Dow, when you've got so much going on from the outside in terms of different media things that you're doing, you know, again, with what you do in the acting world. This is quite a tough gig right now. I mean, it's been quite a tough gig, really, this season, hasn't it? As much as we love doing the shows, there's an element to it where it does feel like Groundhog Day at times, doesn't it? It does feel like, here we go again.
It does. And again, I mean, a big part of that is because we do want to come on here and give the viewers and listeners some sort of joy, is probably an overreach at this point, but something to put a smile on a face. And again, I've said this so many times. I said it before the show when we were talking privately. I do always feel better after coming on to this program. I just do, you know, and even tonight, we've had a lot of laughs and a lot of fun things. I mean, listen, the performance was just totally listless and toothless and pointless and useless, you know, so that's that, you know, but on this show, we've managed to have a few smiles and a few laughs and all that kind of thing, and also I think offer a little bit of wisdom and perspective, and so that's one of the reasons why coming onto the show often feels difficult, because we do take this responsibility seriously, gang. You know, we do. We do want to come on here and give you a good product and reflect what it is that you're feeling, whether you agree or whether you disagree. We always want to show love and respect to all of you. So from my perspective, I'm grateful to be in this position. I'm grateful that you keep asking me back. I'm really grateful to share the screen with Crackers and with Darren and with you, mates. And so thanks very much. You know, it was kind of a shitty day, and now I feel a little bit better. So big up Last Word on Spurs. I'll be back to see you soon. Love and respect to all. Please try and show love and respect throughout the Spurs community, whether you agree or whether you disagree. Do it respectfully. We've got enough problems, haven't we? So let's not have problems amongst ourselves. Love to you all, man, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
You just know if we had more teachers in the world, it'd be a better place. Teach, thank you so much. Honestly, it's tough going. I mean, I almost feel bad, Cracks, because I know you've got a lot to cover in April. And it may as well I'm taking a little bit of a break away. I mean, tough gig, isn't it, Cracks? Tough gig at the moment. It's tough.
Yeah,
it's a tough gig.
It is, but we'll get through it, and we all gather. And you know, like you said, a lot of people get a lot from the shows. So you know, that's a positive thing. Sunday.
I wish we could give them more. I mean that genuinely. On the shows, I come away from the show sometimes, and I think, is there anything more I could have offered up to the audience that could have made it better? And it is just so tough right now, isn't it? I mean, you're looking.
It is.
I mean, even to the point where, just to close on this point, I like you come close, Cracks. You know, I'm getting to the point now. You know, you get DPD drivers and you know wherever it may be, and they see you wearing your Spurs garment. They just look at you and they went, "Oh, I feel sorry for you." It's like they know you. It's almost like they know your life before they've even met you. They look at you and think, oh, "I'm so sorry." You know, this is what we've become. This is what
you can only offer up. You can only offer up on here what's going on. Don't sugarcoat it, but be fair and balanced as well. And you know, and just try and be respectful of everybody's views. And that's all you can really do, isn't it? So, and I think that's what we get. We get pretty good balance with that. So yeah, it is what it is. And but we'll get through it, and we'll see what the future brings us. So, but Sunday, listen, get behind the protest if you can. Please do. You know, there'll be details of that coming up. And then into the stadium and get behind the team. There's been a good balance with change, the change for Tottenham as well. You know, there has been a really good balance. Everybody's been lawful and respectful, and for those that want to join in, those that don't, and then getting into the stadium and being supportive of the team. So that's good. I look forward. Well, the fact that we're even contemplating that we could get beat on Sunday by Southampton tells you everything of where we are currently with confidence and as a club. But when we go 1-0 up, I'm looking forward to Ange running out into the centre spot and showing his Aussie hairy arse to the south stand. Never mind cupping his ear. He's just going to ramp this up, and every time he gets something go his way, straight out onto that halfway line. Down will come the Farah slacks. Down will come the pants, and that Aussie hairy arse being shaked at the south stand. Told you, mate.
Can I just say, and this is no joke, nobody won't believe this. I can tell you, and Postecoglou watches this show. When he comes to the end of his Spurs tenure and he ever watches back some of his episodes of Last Word on Spurs, he will wonder how he was ever the Tottenham manager when he ever watches some of this back on repeat. Oh, Ange, what can I say? Listen, I want to say a massive thank you to this wonderful panel. Richard Crackers Cracknell, TJ Ramini, Darren Hartman. Listen, we've been the Last Word on Spurs. At some point, it is going to get better. And we're going to all be there for it. A massive thank you to our wonderful audience that remain loyal to the core. Thank you so much. Keep liking, keep subscribing from me, from Cracked, from Dow, from Tej. You've been the last one on Spurs. Keep safe, keep well, and as always,